The bridal suite mirror reflected an image that would have made my mother-in-law, Eleanor Westminster, clutch her pearls in horror, me standing in a crisp black server's uniform instead of the mother of the bride gown hanging untouched in my closet. "Mrs. Harrison, the guests are arriving." A young server named Amy poked her head in, her eyes widening when she recognized me. "Ma'am, there must be some mistake." "No mistake," I said softly, adjusting my name tag that read Sarah. "Though perhaps we'll keep my actual identity between us." Amy's confusion was understandable. After all, most hotel owners don't spend their daughters' wedding days wearing staff uniforms. But then again, most mothers-in-law don't orchestrate elaborate schemes to humiliate their daughters-in-law in front of Manhattan's elite. "Your mother-in-law left strict instructions." Amy hesitated. "She said you'd be more comfortable helping the staff today." Comfortable. Such an elegant way of saying Eleanor couldn't bear having her society friends see her son's wife, the woman who'd worked her way up from nothing, standing beside her as an equal. Did she now? I smoothed down the uniform, remembering the phone call from last week. "Sarah, darling," Eleanor had purred, her voice dripping with fake concern. "Given your background, we thought you might feel overwhelmed greeting all these important guests. Why don't you help coordinate with the staff instead? You'd be so much more useful there." 20 years ago, when I first married her precious son James, such thinly veiled insults might have stung. But that was before I built my empire, before I quietly acquired this very hotel group through a series of shell companies. Eleanor still thought I ran a quaint little event planning business. She had no idea that every time she hosted her charity galas here, every time she dropped her famous name to get special treatment, she was actually trading on my reputation. Perfect timing. Eleanor's voice cut through my thoughts as she swept into the bridal suite. "The governor and his wife just arrived. We need someone to handle their coats." She handed me a stack of claim tickets without meeting my eyes. "Of course, Mrs. Westminster." I kept my voice neutral, professional. "Just another helpful staff member. And do try not to embarrass Amanda today," she added, referring to my daughter. "She's finally joining proper society with this wedding. The last thing she needs is her mother making a scene." My beautiful, kind-hearted Amanda, who'd called me in tears last night after her grandmother had threatened to cut her fiancé from the family business if she didn't go along with this charade. "I'll be as invisible as you wish," I promised, watching Eleanor's satisfied smile in the mirror. The next hour passed in a blur of designer coats and air kisses. I watched Eleanor work the room, introducing my daughter to New York's finest while conveniently forgetting to mention the mother of the bride. The irony of these same people fawning over Eleanor, desperately trying to curry favor with the woman they thought controlled access to the city's most exclusive venues, was almost worth the humiliation. Almost. "Sarah?" Eleanor's sharp voice carried across the lobby. "The Matthews need their drinks refreshed, and do be careful with the crystal this time." This time. As if I'd ever broken anything in my life. But I dutifully picked up a fresh champagne tray circulating through crowds of people who'd attended my charity galas, sat on my company boards, begged for my investment in their ventures, all without recognizing the woman behind their success. "Mom?" Amanda's voice trembled as she caught me near the kitchen. My daughter looked stunning in her wedding gown, though her eyes were red-rimmed. "You don't have to do this. We can tell everyone." "Shh." I squeezed her hand. "Your grandmother may control the narrative today, but trust me, sweetheart, I'm exactly where I need to be." "But it's not fair," she whispered fiercely. "You built this whole empire. You own this entire—" "Amanda." Eleanor materialized beside us. "What are you doing talking to the help? The Secretary of State's wife is asking for you." She shot me a warning glare. "And don't you have work to do?" I watched them go, Amanda's shoulders stiff with suppressed anger. Soon, I promised silently, soon they'd all understand exactly who they'd been looking down on. The breaking point came as I'd known it would during the reception. Eleanor had seated me not just with the staff, but in the actual kitchen. I was calmly eating my dinner when her voice rang out over the sophisticated murmur of the ballroom. "This is absolutely unacceptable," she thundered. "Do you have any idea who I am? I demand to speak to the owner immediately." I dabbed my lips with a napkin, straightened my uniform, and stepped through the kitchen doors. Eleanor was berating the maitre d', her face flushed with self-righteous anger. "Is there a problem, Mrs. Westminster?" I asked mildly. "You." She spun toward me. Get me whoever's in charge. The service tonight has been atrocious, the wine selection is all wrong, and I want heads to roll. Well, I said softly, reaching up to remove my name tag. Since you asked so nicely. The maitre d' was already smiling, having known my true identity all along. Around us, the crowd fell silent, sensing the shift in power. What are you doing? Eleanor demanded. Get back to work. Oh, I am at work, Eleanor. I stepped closer. In fact, I'm exactly where I belong, overseeing my hotel on my daughter's wedding day. The color drained from her face as understanding dawned. Your hotel. My hotel group, actually. I smiled. Though you'd know that if you'd ever bothered to look past your own prejudices and see me as more than just the help. The champagne glass in her hand shattered on the marble floor. But for once, Eleanor Westminster had absolutely nothing to say. Eleanor swayed slightly, her perfectly manicured hand clutching at her throat. Around us, the elite crowd of Manhattan society leaned in, phones discreetly recording what promised to be the scandal of the season. This is impossible, she whispered. These hotels belong to SH Global Ventures. Indeed they do. I straightened my uniform with deliberate care. SH. Sarah Harrison. I do enjoy how the wealthy elite never bother to look beyond their assumptions. Makes acquisitions so much simpler. Sarah, James, my husband, stepped forward from the crowd. Unlike his mother, there was a glimmer of pride in his eyes. He kept my secret all these years, understanding why I needed to build my empire quietly, away from his family's interference. The renovations you demanded last spring, Mother, he said. The new wing you insisted had to be ready for Amanda's wedding. You were actually making demands to your daughter-in-law. Eleanor's face shifted between shades of red and white. But your little event planning business was the perfect cover, I finished. While you were so busy looking down on my little business, I was acquiring properties across 3 continents, including, I might add, your beloved country club. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. The Westminster Country Club was Eleanor's pride and joy, her seat of power, where she determined who was worthy of joining Manhattan's elite. That's why the board stopped taking your calls, James added, moving to stand beside me. Sarah's been implementing some long overdue changes to the membership criteria. Merit over money, if you can imagine. Amanda stepped forward, still radiant in her wedding gown but now with tears streaming down her face. Grandmother, how could you? Making my own mother serve at my wedding. I was protecting you. Eleanor burst out. Your mother, she wasn't born into our world. I was trying to maintain standards. Standards? I cut in softly. Like forcing your granddaughter to choose between her mother and her inheritance? Like threatening her fiancé's position in the family company if she didn't comply with your little power play? The whispers among the guests grew louder. Eleanor Westminster's carefully curated image was crumbling by the second. Mrs. Harrison, my maitre d' approached with perfect timing. Shall we serve the special reserve champagne now? The one Eleanor was told wasn't available for today's wedding? Yes, I think it's time. I smiled. And please ensure everyone has a glass. We're about to make a toast. You can't do this, Eleanor hissed. You're making a scene at your daughter's wedding? No, Eleanor. You made a scene when you decided to humiliate me in front of our guests. I'm simply correcting the record. I accepted a glass of champagne from a server. Did you ever wonder why you got such preferential treatment at all my properties? Why the staff jumped to attention at your name? She stared at me, realization dawning. They weren't responding to the Westminster name, I continued. They were responding to standing orders from their actual employer to document every interaction with you. Every demanding phone call, every belittling comment, every bounce payment. Bounce payments? James's voice sharpened. Eleanor flinched. Around us, the wealthy crowd shifted uncomfortably, no doubt wondering if their own treatment of service staff had been similarly documented. Perhaps, I suggested, we should take this discussion somewhere more private, unless you prefer Manhattan's elite to hear about the creative accounting you've been using to maintain your lifestyle. Mother? Amanda's voice trembled. What does she mean? Eleanor's carefully constructed world was unraveling thread by thread. Her perfectly arranged society wedding was turning into her worst nightmare. The help wasn't just helping anymore. The help owned everything. The private dining room, I gestured. The same one you assigned me to eat in, shall we? As Eleanor followed me, her designer heels clicking on marble floors she no longer controlled, I caught James's eye. The slight nod he gave me confirmed what I already knew. It was time to reshape the Westminster legacy, starting with the woman who'd spent 20 years trying to put me in my place. She was about to learn exactly where that place was. In the private dining room, Eleanor collapsed into a chair, her perfect posture finally breaking. The room, with its hand-painted wallpaper and crystal chandeliers, had been recently renovated under my direct supervision, though she credited herself for the changes at every society luncheon. "What do you want?" she whispered. "Money? A position on the Westminster board?" I laughed softly. "Eleanor, I own properties worth billions. Your family's company is barely staying afloat. Yes, I've seen the books. I'm not here to take anything from you. I'm here to give you something." "Give me something." Her eyes narrowed suspiciously. "A chance to change, to become someone your granddaughter can actually be proud of, not just fear." Amanda and James joined us, closing the door on the curious crowd outside. My daughter's mascara was smeared, but her spine was straight as she faced her grandmother. "Every time you made Mom use service entrances," Amanda said quietly, "every time you seated her away from the family, told me to be ashamed of my common mother. She owned the very ground you walked on. And still she let you think you had the power. Why, Mom?" "Because real power isn't about humiliating people," I answered, watching Eleanor's face. "It's about giving them the opportunity to be better." "So what happens now?" Eleanor's voice was barely audible. "Now you have choices." I sat across from her. "Choice 1. I can announce to everyone out there that the Westminster family has been living on credit and false pretenses. I can cancel your memberships, review your accounts, make public every documented instance of your abuse of my staff." She flinched. "Choice 2. I continued, you can spend the next year proving you can change. Start by apologizing to every server you've berated tonight. Then we'll discuss establishing a foundation, with your money, not mine, to provide education scholarships for service industry workers." "You're asking me to serve the help?" Eleanor's lip curled. "I'm asking you to recognize that the help are human beings, some of whom, like me, might own empires one day." James stepped forward. "Mother, Sarah's giving you a chance I'm not sure you deserve. I suggest you take it." For the first time, I saw real fear in Eleanor Westminster's eyes. Not fear of losing her social status, but fear of losing her son and granddaughter. "Amanda," she turned to my daughter. "I never meant—" "Yes, you did, grandmother," Amanda cut in. "You meant every cruel word, every subtle dig, every attempt to make me ashamed of my mother. The only difference is now you know she's richer than you. Which makes your behavior worse, not better," I added softly. Eleanor's perfectly maintained facade cracked. For the first time in 20 years, I saw something real in her expression: shame. "I don't know how to be different," she whispered. "Start by serving champagne to our guests," I suggested. "Experience what it's like on the other side. Learn their names, hear their stories. Then maybe you'll understand why I let this charade play out today." Slowly, Eleanor stood. Her designer dress rustled as she smoothed it down, a nervous gesture I'd never seen before. "And Eleanor," I called as she reached the door, "the vintage champagne you claimed was impossible to get for Amanda's wedding? I reserved it 6 months ago because, unlike you, I believe my daughter deserves the best, regardless of what society thinks." As she left to begin her lesson in humility, Amanda hugged me tightly. "Mom, you're incredible. But why didn't you ever tell me?" "Because you needed to make your own choices, sweetie, not based on my wealth or your grandmother's threats, but on what you believed was right." James wrapped his arms around both of us. "Should we go watch the great Eleanor Westminster serving champagne to her society friends?" I smiled, remembering the young woman I'd once been, determined to succeed despite the Westminster's disdain. You know what they say, success is the best revenge. But teaching empathy, that's priceless. Together, we rejoined the party, where Eleanor Westminster was learning her first lesson in humility, one champagne flute at a time. The whispers and camera phones followed her every move. But for once, she wasn't the most powerful person in the room. She was just the help. And maybe, just maybe, that would teach her the lesson I'd spent 20 years waiting to deliver. Sometimes the best revenge isn't showing people how powerful you are, it's teaching them why they were wrong about power in the first place.